4 years ago, I had a terrible car accident that completely changed my life. A drunk driver rear-ended me, and the injuries were so severe that I was bedridden for 2 months. The pain was unbearable, and I couldn't even move without feeling agony. But the physical pain wasn't the worst part of it all. During this time, my stepmother falsely accused me of stealing the car without permission. This led to my dad kicking me out of the house. At the time of the accident, I was 16, and my driving license exam was just a few days away. I remember asking my stepmother for permission to practice driving in our neighborhood since my dad had always let me. Of course, I needed to ask one of them before using the car. She gave me the go-ahead. So I took the car for a short drive. After the accident, she twisted the story and told my dad that I had taken the car without permission to go out with friends, supposedly to show off. She also claimed I never asked for authorization. My dad didn't bother to listen to my side of the story. He believed all her lies and kicked me out of the house, even though I was still recovering. Since the accident I suffered, as I was growing up, my stepmother and I never had a good relationship. She came into my life when I was only 4, after my biological mother left. My mom never wanted to be part of my life and gave up her parental rights. So it was just my dad and me when he started dating my stepmother. At first, things seemed okay, but over time, it became clear that she had no interest in being a mother to me. For her, she was just my dad's wife. Nothing more. As I grew older, our relationship became more strained. We argued frequently, usually over small things, but she always took issues to an extreme level. Then complained to my dad about my behavior. No matter what happened, he always took her side, which only made things worse. When the accident happened, I was only a few months away from going to college. I was eager to get away from the whole home environment. But after the accident and my stepmother's lies, my plans fell apart. My dad no longer wanted me around, so I had to move in with my grandparents. It wasn't a financial issue. My dad was wealthy, had his own paper company, and had insurance for the car and the family. The only reason he kicked me out was because of the lies my stepmother told him. She claimed she had overheard me talking about running away with friends to impress them and that she had warned me not to. But I supposedly ignored her. That wasn't true. I was already dealing with the immense pain and stress of recovering from the accident. But my stepmother's lies made everything worse. For a week, I tried to convince my dad of the truth, but he refused to believe me. In my frustration, I lost my temper and yelled at my stepmother, calling her a liar and accusing her of being jealous because she couldn't have my dad all to herself. It's been 4 years since all of this happened. My relationship with my dad is still strained. But recently he and my stepmother invited me to their vow renewal ceremony. After everything they put me through, I don't know how to feel about it. It's hard to forget the pain they caused me during one of the most difficult moments of my life. After the traumatic car accident, I was left bedridden, and my relationship with my dad reached a breaking point. I was in terrible physical condition, unable to move without feeling excruciating pain. But amidst my recovery, my dad made the difficult decision to remove me from our home and place me in the care of my grandparents. That decision was heavily influenced by the deceitful claims of my stepmother. Feeling betrayed, I confronted my dad and expressed my deep hurt over his decision to prioritize my stepmother's words over our relationship. Especially considering my vulnerable state, he justified his actions, insisting that I needed discipline and that I couldn't continue disrupting his wife's peace. It then became clear to me that my father's loyalties had shifted. And heart-wrenchingly, he chose to believe my stepmother's fabricated version of events rather than the truth. That revelation shattered me. And in my despair, I vowed never to speak to him again. Growing up, it had always been just my dad and me. Even though my stepmother had been in my life since I was 4, I never felt like we were truly a family. I always had the feeling she didn't see me as part of hers either. After this incident, I decided that neither my dad nor my stepmother deserved to be considered my family. To me, family is a term that should be reserved for those who uphold deep bonds of support. Fortunately, my grandparents welcomed me with open arms. They arranged for a full-time nurse and provided me with the care and affection I needed. Despite their efforts and my hopes, my dad remained distant, making excuses not to visit me. That neglect continued for 3 months after the accident. until there was finally a confrontation between my dad and my grandparents. During that conversation, my dad admitted that he had no plans to mend our relationship since my stepmother had given him an ultimatum. He had to choose between her and me. From that point on, our communication ceased completely. My grandparents, who had always been supportive, financed my university education. As I approached graduation, I focused on building a life surrounded by supportive friends and, of course, my beloved grandparents. Despite all the hardships, their presence made my journey towards recovery and independence much more bearable. Years passed without any contact with my parents, and I had no desire to disrupt the peace I had found. However, out of the blue, my stepmother contacted me, announcing that she and my dad were renewing their vows and wanted me to attend. The invitation was baffling. Given our complicated past, I responded immediately, declining it. Her request felt especially disingenuous considering the unresolved tensions and the emotional turmoil they had caused me in the past. Last week, my stepmother contacted me again. She sent a somewhat urgent message informing me that my dad would soon formally invite me to attend their vow renewal ceremony. She emphasized that my presence was crucial, not only for maintaining familial appearances but also because some of my dad's business partners would be present. According to her, these individuals, who knew me from the family photos on my dad's desk, might find my absence strange and question it, which would be awkward for him. She asked me to accept the invitation and put our past conflicts behind us. However, I was far from ready to let the past go, especially considering that it had only been 4 years since the events that caused our estrangement. I chose to ignore her message and continue with my day. However, after a few hours of silence from me, she messaged me again. This time, her tone was accusatory and manipulative. She called me an ungrateful child and insisted I was trying to further humiliate my dad by ignoring his supposed attempt at reconciliation, something she claimed I didn't deserve. Her message quickly escalated to threats. She insinuated that my future inheritance, whether from the business or my father's wealth, could be at risk if I refused to attend the event. She assured me she would see to it that I was cut off financially if I didn't comply with her request. Frustrated and angered by her audacious threats, I decided to block her number, something I hadn't felt necessary until that moment. However, even that didn't stop her attempts to communicate. She then sent me emails, reiterating that I should accept the invitation. She insisted that the vow renewal was not just a personal event but was also tied to my father's business interests. My stepmother's persistent threats and her apparent urgency, more focused on her own interests than a genuine reconciliation, pushed me to the limit. I reached a breaking point and decided to address the situation publicly. I shared all previous conversations, along with a detailed account of our past conflicts. On social media, I made the post public, tagging my dad, my stepmother, and some of their business associates who were connected with me. The post quickly spread, and the backlash wasn't long in coming. My dad's reputation was significantly impacted, putting at risk a planned merger with an office supply company. This merger, which was crucial for his business, was still in its initial stages but now faced the possibility of being cancelled due to the fallout from my revelations. A day after I posted, my grandparents informed me that my dad was devastated by the consequences of my actions, which had caused him significant loss professionally. Although my primary intention was to shed light on my personal grievances and the unfair treatment I had received, the repercussions ended up affecting more people than just my stepmother and me. The damage to my dad's company made me feel a mix of justification and regret. As I reflected on the impact of my actions, my grandparents expressed their opinion that my approach might have been too severe, especially since my dad was indirectly affected in a battle that was mainly between my stepmother and me. In response to my grandparents' comments and the opinions of some acquaintances on social media, I decided to delete the post, even though I felt at the time that it was necessary to denounce the unfair treatment. The broader implications made me question if I had chosen the right way to handle the situation. Some people have asked why I refer to my dad and stepmother collectively as my parents, especially since it's clear we don't have a good relationship. The simple reason is that my dad is my biological father, and my stepmother has been in my life since I was a child. It has become a habit to call them that. And honestly, it's not something I think much about. It's simply easier to say it that way. Getting back to the recent events. After the backlash from my social media post, I decided to remove it. Even though many comments suggested I didn't owe anyone an apology, I still felt the need to reach out to my dad. I didn't exactly apologize, but I explained that I was still deeply affected by the events of 4 years ago. I also expressed to him that his attempt to reconcile through the vow renewal ceremony felt more like an effort to display a united family front for his business partners, rather than a genuine intention. Especially given my stepmother's manipulative behavior. I put all of this in a message to him, not expecting much, considering the circumstances. Surprisingly, he responded calmly and acknowledged that he deserved the public call-out for his past actions. My dad expressed that he understood why I reacted the way I did and that he didn't blame me. His unexpected response puzzled me, so I decided to talk to my grandparents. They revealed that my father had been grappling with regret for a while before he received my message. They told me he had confided in them his doubts and guilt over the way he handled things, admitting he had been swayed by my stepmother's convincing, yet deceitful, portrayals of my behavior. My grandparents explained that my father's intentions in inviting me to the vow renewal were genuine and had nothing to do with appearances, as my stepmother had insinuated. In fact, the event wasn't even planned to include his business partners. It was supposed to be a small, intimate gathering. This revelation made me realize that my stepmother had perhaps been trying to drive a wedge between my father and me. After facing these truths, my dad acknowledged my stepmother's lies and manipulations, which had also caused tensions in their relationship. Moreover, he hadn't received a definitive answer regarding the business merger, assuming it was off, and he was now facing personal problems. My grandparents commended me for reaching out to him, not to apologize, but to clarify my stance. They believe, and I agree, that an apology from me isn't necessary given the circumstances. This whole ordeal has left me in a complicated emotional state, reflecting on my actions and their repercussions. Although I feel relieved to have a better understanding of my dad's perspective and see his regret, I'm still grappling with mixed feelings about the possible reconciliation and what that would mean for our family. The dynamics are shifting. There has been much confusion caused by my stepmother's actions and my initial reaction. It may have seemed harsh to some. I reacted as anyone else might have in my place. But I took a further step to reach out to my dad and try to fix things between us, which my grandparents appreciated. However, managing my emotions with this renewed contact with my dad has been complicated. After so many years of silence, these resurfacing feelings aren't simple. Following my social media update, many advised me to maintain a no-contact stance with my dad, but abruptly severing ties doesn't feel right to me, especially after breaking the silence. There are still many unresolved things. There are lingering issues and questions that I need answers to. I feel that even a single conversation, for closure, is necessary before I can consider distancing myself again, ignoring the judgment of others. I trust my own decisions. My heart is guiding me towards resolution and understanding, not prolonged estrangement. I have talked about these feelings with my grandparents, who support the idea of having a mediated conversation with my dad. Currently, they are helping to arrange this meeting. Interestingly, things between my dad and stepmother seem shaky and might be heading towards a divorce, which is ironic considering their recent plans to renew their vows. My grandparents are also supporting me in reconnecting with my dad, sensing the urgency due to their age and the limited time they have to mend strained relationships. From what they tell me, my dad seems genuinely remorseful for the past, and the potential business deal and its consequences now seem trivial to him. He is now more concerned about the mistakes he made as a father. According to my grandparents, he frequently speaks of his regret for his failures and seems focused on making amends. It's challenging to see things from his perspective, but hearing about his regrets and his current emotional state has opened a path to understanding him better. My grandparents believe a face-to-face conversation could facilitate healing, and I'm cautiously hopeful about it. 4 days ago, that long-awaited meeting finally happened at my grandparents' house. It was intensely emotional, reuniting after such a long separation and misunderstandings. We talked about everything frankly, and my dad took the opportunity to deeply apologize for the pain he caused. He admitted he had failed in his role as a father and acknowledged me for turning into a better person than he had expected. Something he feels he had little part in, given the circumstances he was in. He recognized his mistakes, especially trusting my stepmother more than me, something that pains him deeply. He explained how she manipulated him without him suspecting she would deceive him. This confession was a lot to process, but it was also clarifying, because it revealed the complexities of his relationship with her. I hadn't fully understood it before this meeting, but after what was discussed, new possibilities opened up for us. It's a chance to rebuild and maybe forgive. Although I'm still processing everything and deciding the best way forward. My grandparents' support has been invaluable as we navigate these renewed connections. I continue to have hope. My dad admitted he was completely confused about who to trust and what to believe, which led him to make the wrong decisions. After kicking me out, his doubts about those decisions grew, but he never had the courage to reach out and confront his mistakes. When we finally spoke, he expressed deep remorse and left the decision of whether or not to continue our relationship up to me. He told me he would understand if I chose not to forgive him and maintain my distance because he recognized the gravity of his errors. During our conversation, he also revealed that he and my stepmother were getting divorced. She had moved out after a confrontation that escalated when he questioned her about the lies she had told about the vow renewal invitation. It turned out that she had also lied about the circumstances surrounding the car accident 2 years prior. This was what made him question everything. And in the end, she left and filed for divorce. With all of this, I couldn't immediately decide whether I should forgive him, so I asked for some time to think things over. Now I'm in a period of reflection, trying to decide if I should give him a second chance. Many might advise me not to, but he's still my father, and the decision is solely mine. Most importantly, I'm approaching a stage in life where I'll soon be financially independent. I'm about to graduate from university and get a job. This assures me that my decision isn't influenced by financial dependence or his expectations. I'm confident that he isn't trying to reconcile just to have someone support him after his retirement. His business remains solid, despite recent troubles, giving me peace of mind that any attempt to mend our relationship is motivated by genuine emotion, not financial needs. It's not just about deciding if I pardon him. It's about whether I want to pardon him. After much thought, I think I will give our relationship a chance. Despite the difficult past few years, I can't ignore our entire history, which had far more good moments than bad ones. I've decided to start therapy with him so we can better address our issues and improve our communication. We're both committed to putting in the effort, with the hope of finding common ground and healing our relationship. My grandparents support this decision, and I'm hopeful about moving forward and putting the past behind us. This is an opportunity to possibly have the normal family dynamic I've always yearned for, and I'm ready to embrace it fully. I'm genuinely ready to let go of old resentments and build a new, healthier relationship with my father.